I call the member for Fadden.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I rise to lend some comment on the awarding of the Victoria Cross to Corporal Benjimin Roberts-Smith, VC, MG. A soldier standing over 200 centimetres tall, half Spartan, half Athenian. Spartan in raw courage and incredible valour, in concern for his mates, in strength, in commitment, in dedication. Athenian in his love for his family, his wife and two beautiful daughters, in his recognition and care for nature, and for his kind and gentle words to all he speaks to. A modern-day warrior, perhaps a modern-day poet, but truly a great Australian soldier. Corporal Benjimin Roberts-Smith, VC, was awarded the nation's highest honour, the Victoria Cross, on the 23rd of January 2011. The Governor-General, Quinton Bryce, awarded the medal at an investiture ceremony at Campbell Barracks, the home of the Special Air Service Regiment in Perth. He probably now is one of the most highly decorated soldiers in the nation, wearing both the Victoria Cross and the Medal for Gallantry, which was awarded for bravery in Afghanistan in 2006. At the investiture ceremony, a wonderful picture was painted as the Chief of Defence Force, Air Chief Marshal Houston, made the point that Corporal Roberts-Smith had brought not only credit to himself and to the uniform he wears, but to his nation. He spoke of the enduring sacrifice of soldiers, of the Special Air Service Regiment as one of the finest fighting forces in the world, and spoke highly of our newest VC recipient. Indeed, high praise from Caesar himself. The true impact of the Victoria Cross, however, is perhaps demonstrated more fully by the fact that CDF then stood and saluted Corporal Roberts-Smith, something that he has the honour to do, and something that all serving military personnel will do when they meet Corporal Roberts-Smith, VC. The awarding of the medal is also significant in terms of what it's brought to our nation and to its people. The military has once again presented its heroes that the nation can look to, aspire to, acknowledge and seek to emulate, not so much in deed, but definitely in thought and, more importantly, in character. His valour and his courage lies at the nation's very core. It exemplifies the best of us, in that he won this amazing medal not so much for destroying enemy combatants in war, but more for the reason in which he did those deeds: to seek out and close with the enemy because his mates were at enormous risk. It's such a great Australian thing that when asked, why did you do it, running 20 metres into withering machine gun blast, he answered because one of his mates was taking enormous fire and he thought he'd just take a crack. Truly Australian. It should come as no surprise that Corporal Roberts-Smith, born and bred of the very essence of that which defines us all, put his life on his line for his mates. His concern was also always for his fellow soldiers, and that concern overrode the very basic instinct of survival, the very basic instinct of self-preservation, and that he could overcome that whilst indeed fearing fear itself, and to take himself to those great lengths, charging a machine gun post, dispatching enemy gunners, and then continuing to fight for the following hours. Some would argue this is the stuff of fiction, of what writers would sit and eloquently write about how war could romantically be. This is indeed the stuff of legends, carved out of the harshness of an Afghani landscape, where bravery and fear are very real, where shed blood, unfortunately, is a result of actions. And that's why the Australian Defence Force, in all its elements, not just the Special Operations Task Group, but the men and women of our mentoring task force, are held in such high regard. We ask no quarter, we give no quarter, and certainly Corporal Benjimin Roberts-Smith, VC, emulated that to the extreme. I recently stood in the House and spoke on the condolence motion for Corporal Richard Atkinson. I'm aware that I'm following on now, in this place, on the conclusion of that condolence motion, where many members of Parliament have stood to express their great condolence and to acknowledge the sacrifice of Corporal Atkinson, the 22nd Australian, to lay down his life being killed in action in the combat operational zone in Afghanistan. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to personally thank those members. Thank you for rising in this place, for your gracious words of support to the family and friends of Corporal Atkinson. Thank you for taking the time to acknowledge his sacrifice. It's important. In time, his fiancée Danielle, his mum and dad and his brother's wife, and his future nieces and nephews will read the words that members of Parliament have said in this place, and they will look to how the nation stood to honour him. Amongst all the sadness, amongst the difficult times, words expressed by the nation's leaders make a difference. Words are indeed powerful. It is fabulous that here in this place, in the nation's capital, we're able to express both great admiration for the works of our great national heroes and great gratitude for their truly selfless acts of bravery. Greater love hath no man than this, to lay down his life for his friends. And we see this not only in Corporal Richard Atkinson, but importantly in Corporal Benjimin Roberts-Smith VC, who sought to go forward to protect his mates, regardless of the personal sacrifice. It is a tribute to him and all who follow him.